Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be talking about some of the big changes to today's forecast across the southern plains in terms of the severe weather outbreak that could occur across those areas, including the threat for damaging winds, large to very large hail, and a few tornadoes. I'll give you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know ahead of the storms today, but let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today. We're going to begin with the southern plains, which is where we're watching for that threat of severe weather later this afternoon and into the evening hours. But we are already noticing some convection boiling across areas just to the east of Interstate 35W. This could actually help to prevent severe weather a little bit, and I'll give you an idea of what that means here in just a moment. But where that low pressure system is currently located, it might be hard to kind of find because there's just so much showers and storms all across areas from the Midwest back through the southern plains. But this low pressure system is actually in the central plains right now, and this is where it's kind of organizing itself. It's going to become more organized over the next 24 hours. This will actually bring a winter storm as well to the Midwest. So a lot of stuff that this low pressure system will do, but our biggest concern right now is that severe weather threat for this afternoon. Now, one big thing that we are noticing this morning, which was in the forecast, is on the visible satellite imagery, there's a ton of cloud cover across North Texas right now. Now, this should start to clear out over the next few hours. We should start to see some more daylight heating, which will lead to obviously the threat for some severe storms later today. And a lot of this is due to the convection that we've seen this morning. But you may notice here, this is really where the main area of showers and storms is existing right now, which is in northeast Texas and also through eastern North Texas as well. And also back up in Oklahoma, there's a couple of storms that have been developing late this morning. They will continue throughout the afternoon, and that is where we're going to see the first supercells develop. Will be up in Oklahoma over the next few hours. Now, in terms of the severe weather threat for today, there is an enhanced risk of severe weather. This does include areas in southern Oklahoma back through North Texas. No major changes from yesterday in terms of the outlook. The biggest change, if anything, is that the enhanced risk is slightly further back out to the west here, just south of Oklahoma City. That's really the only change that is noticeable here in the past 24 hours. The hail threat also, for the most part, remains the same. The hatched area did extend further to the north, though, so it does include areas now just east and just to the south of Oklahoma City. 30% probability, and as well as the threat for even 2-inch diameter hail or greater does exist in areas like DFW and back through areas near the Red River Valley. Up to baseball-sized hail will be possible out of a storm or two if storms are able to become severe enough, and I'll show you again more details on that here in just a second. And in terms of the damaging wind threat, it is going to be slightly further to the east of the Metroplex. This is when we'll have a linear line of storms develop just around or after sunset. This will start to take over. In terms of a hail threat, it will start to lower, and then we'll have an increasing damaging wind threat as storms move into northeast Texas. So this is a bit more of a concerning area for some flying trampolines, for example. And then in terms of the tornado threat, there have been some changes to the tornado threat. Not huge changes in my opinion. However, they are notable ones. Back over just east of the Metroplex, there is now a 10% chance of a tornado or two within a 25-mile radius. So keep this in mind, especially if you're just to the east of Interstate 35E. This is where we may see a chance for an isolated tornado or two, slightly increased in comparison to the areas surrounding eastern North Texas. So this is an area that we'll be watching very closely for a tornado threat later today. And one of the big reasons why this change did occur, look at the tornado parameter on the HRR model. Now, this isn't the most accurate representation of the tornado threat, but in comparison to yesterday, the values were around 1 to 2. That's low for the most part on a tornado parameter scale. 4 to 5 is quite high in this sort of case. So kind of pretty big changes, but I would say the tornado threat will still stay on the lower side of things, even though there probably will be a couple of tornadoes. So have a way to receive alerts. We'll likely be live here on YouTube later today. So make sure you're subscribed and click the post notifications button so you get notified when I go live. In terms of the instability values have also been forecast to be even a little bit higher than what was forecasted yesterday. Values upwards of 2,500 joules per kilogram in comparison to the great trampoline outbreak that we had 2 weeks ago in North Texas. It was around 1,500 to 2,000, so slightly higher in terms of instability. This should help to lead to some storm activity. Now let's talk about the timing for today. We'll begin with Oklahoma. We're going to start to see some storms fire up as early as now, all the way through areas in the afternoon hours. Eventually by 3 to 4 o'clock, storms will move into areas near Oklahoma City. McAllister will likely stay dry in terms of severe weather until probably about 5, 6 o'clock. About 5 o'clock or so, that is when storms are really starting to intensify. Large hail threat will really be predominant by this point, and eventually going closer to 6 to 7. That area of storms moves into southeast Oklahoma, where this will become a line of storms, and all the storm activity is out of Oklahoma by 9 o'clock. Now let's talk about North Texas. This is the region where we have the most concern for today in terms of severe weather. We'll begin with this morning. Again, we've seen some showers and even some storms that the HRR model has not even picked up back over near Paris and Tyler. Those are not really going to be severe this morning, but there might be a chance at least for some sinking air that could actually help to limit severe weather a little bit this afternoon. So this isn't a grand slam sort of situation where we will definitely have severe weather. There are some variables like sinking air with that initial convection that may prevent some severe weather, and it might even prevent all of it, but we need to be prepared just in case storms do fire off, which it's pretty likely right now that storms will fire off this afternoon. Make sure that you're prepared for large hail, damaging winds, and that tornado threat. By 4 to 5 o'clock, though, that is when storms are currently forecast or being estimated to start to spawn off across North Texas. Main threat with these initial cells will again be large to very large hail. Storms continue through 7 o'clock. Eventually by 8 o'clock, this turns into a line of storms in southeast DFW. For the most part, this will mainly be a damaging wind threat with some isolated large hail and a threat for maybe a couple of tornadoes embedded in that line of storms, and this will all move down to the south and east before it all clears out by tomorrow morning. In terms of southeast Texas, for those near Houston, this is mainly a damaging wind threat. Areas near Waco will see storms right after sunset. Eventually going into the overnight hours, that line will push towards Houston. My only concern right now for those near Houston is damaging winds. However, very low chance for maybe some isolated quarter-sized hail. I don't think we'll see any of that though. Back through Arkansas, we'll be really just watching for a lot of rain. This will be more of a rain event for Arkansas, but there will be a threat for some damaging winds, potentially some numerous damaging winds across the western half of the state. Eventually this line will weaken a bit more, but some really heavy rain going to be moving through Memphis, Tennessee by the overnight hours. This will all be out of Arkansas as well by tomorrow morning. For those in Louisiana, mainly a damaging wind threat. Again, line of storms will really march down during the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, and this will eventually move off to the east. Not a whole lot is expected during the late afternoon or evening. That will clear up by then. Now, another big thing with this entire system is the big cool down that'll be impacting a large chunk of the country. We'll be talking about below freezing temperatures as far south as Texas, all the way back through the Ohio Valley and into the lower Mississippi Valley. We could even see some below freezing temperatures. Freeze warnings very well could get issued for a large chunk of the United States here pretty soon. This is again a look at the motion of this low pressure system. A winter storm is possible near the upper Michigan Peninsula. Once we go into next week, we'll be really watching a very dominant high pressure system for most of next week, but by next Wednesday or Thursday is when our next potential for severe weather will exist again in the southern plains. That is 3 out of the last 4 Thursdays where we have a chance now for severe weather in North Texas alone. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.